Hey, you guys, Karen from Master Spirit Guides. I hope you're doing well today. So, I'm still on a little vacation, but I had to stop in and tell you about what happened. So, on Monday, August 4th, we went down to our community pool. Okay, so I live in a condo area and we have a pool. Okay, and not many people use the pool. All right. And this is an interesting story because there's sort of it definitely was not this person's time to pass. And we definitely saved her life, which was crazy. This has never happened to me before, like this direct. And hang on, Lucy is. Okay, I'm back. And there's definitely the amazing part of the story is what happens at the end. Okay, so come on. Here she comes. Okay, all right. She wants to tell the story too, apparently. So, this is Lucy. Hi, guys. So, anyways, okay, so we went down to the pool and it was a Monday, so there weren't that many people down there. My neighbor and her two friends were down there. All three of them are in their 70s. So it happened to someone who was 71, okay? And my husband and I were down there, and he has the week off, so normally we wouldn't have been down there. Well, I might have been down there by myself, but sometimes, but he wouldn't have been down there at this time. And another neighbor was off as well, and she never takes, she just happened. She was like, I feel like taking the day off, so she was down there. She's a little bit younger, so my husband and I are our 50s, and she's about, let's say 30. She's like 30. So, anywho, we're all having a nice little afternoon, and the three older ladies go into the pool, okay? And they're talking and, just chatting. They're like on noodles and they're just floating around the pool. And now this pool is 3 feet to 5'6". Okay. So like I can stand in the deep. I'm 5'7", but it would be like up to here on me. Right. So one of this woman's friends, one of my neighbor's friends, was on a noodle and she had the noodle in between her legs and she just started swimming. And she just kind of, swimming around like for probably 10 seconds. Okay. And like her hat came off and she just kind of like plopped into the water. And it was kind of funny the way she was swimming. And even I happened to be facing the pool and watching. And my neighbor said to her other friend, like, wow, look at her. She's getting in, because she was kind of flopping around. And all of a sudden, and I'm watching her, and my neighbor's name is Karen also, so we're both Karens. I'm watching her, I'm out of the pool, and she's watching her, and this friend just goes limp. Like, now her legs are on the noodle, but now her head is in the water, and she's not moving. And so I jumped up immediately. I don't know why, but it was just, I don't know. I could just tell it's really weird, when something happens like this, you're like, you don't even know why you reacted the way you did and what you did, like we're all talking about it afterwards, like, what exactly happened and, all this kind of stuff. Anyways, so her head is under the water and she is not moving. Okay. So I jump up and, it's a good thing this is all the kind of stuff you think about. Like, good thing I wasn't like on my stomach facing away. And her friend wasn't like the two of them, like not paying attention, because she would have been under the water for, I don't know, it could have been like 5 minutes before somebody noticed. Right. Well, anyway, so she was not under the water for like more than 15 seconds because when I ran over, she was in the 3-foot end as well. She was in the 3-foot area. So she could have stood up, but something happened, okay, which we don't really know. We have a guess, but we don't really know. And so when I got up and ran over to her, I was looking down into the water and her head was just, and her hair was like flowing out like this and she just was not moving. Like her head started to sink like that. So of course I yelled like, and then Karen, my neighbor, saw that too. So we kind of met in the middle. So she was in the pool, which was a good thing. my neighbor who's 30 jumped back into the water. And so before I could even jump back into the water, I must have like been like, she's not, she's not breathing, or something like that. I don't even know what I said. But both Karen and I were kind of yelling. I mean, not yelling, but you know what I mean. So anyways, my one neighbor jumped back into the water and so then they were holding her head up like that, and so then I was like, well, I either got to go into the water or I got to call 911. Like I'm just like scrambling. We're just like scrambling around. So my husband then jumped into the water and was able to actually like scoop her up. She was quite small and he's a big guy anyways, kind of scoop her up. And then I called 911. Okay, so I'm on the phone with 911. Now they pull her out of the water and she is blue. I'm talking 15 seconds. She is blue. And I know like some of you are probably EMTs and all that. Like we've already actually talked to a couple EMTs and but we're like average people. We don't have medical backgrounds. We don't have rescue backgrounds. Although, okay, so this girl, my neighbor, 30 years old, said right away, which was amazing. She said, I know CPR. Okay. So she just said that. And I don't know, I can't even remember like if any of us was like, does anyone know CPR? I have no idea. I feel like someone might have said that. Anyway, she goes, I know CPR. So to me, that was, okay, somebody is in charge here, right? So so she did whatever I'm on the phone now. Like I'm calling the police. I call 911. The police then direct me to EMT or whoever, like to support staff to help with emergencies to make sure we were actually helping her. Because if you don't know what you're doing, right? Now, she took CPR, but this was like 30 years ago. I mean, like 10 years ago. Now, I've been trained as well, and so has my husband, but that was like in college. Okay, so like there's a moral to this story, really. So by the time, actually, I remember my neighbor who said, I know CPR. I heard her say, like, I don't know what I was doing, but I heard her say, there's no pulse. Okay. And then I was on the phone with the EMTs, let's just say EMTs. It was it was 911 and then it was the police and then emergency help or whatever. Okay. And which, they transferred me within a couple minutes. Or I was talking to them within a couple minutes. And now they're telling me, obviously, an ambulance is coming. The police got there first. There was like 3 police cars showed up first. We live pretty close to a police station, and then an ambulance. So within, I want to say a couple minutes, she had actually given her, I don't know why she decided to do what she did, but I think this is how she was originally trained to do this. And I can't quite remember what the CPR, but I talked to an EMT later in the afternoon who happened to come, which is really interesting. We were having our toilets changed, like replaced. And the guy the plumber who replaced our toilets used to be an EMT for like 30 years. So we were talking to him about it and he said, now what you do is you just do chest compressions. So that's what he told us. Now I don't take, I'm not educated on this. I'm actually going to be watching some YouTube videos just to be reminded because this happens so fast. I mean, it happens so fast. So anyway, so like I'm on the phone and I think I don't know if she could hear the person talking to me on the phone or I said out loud, like, no, she doesn't have a pulse. So I must have said that and Casey, my neighbor, said, yes, she does. So now she actually had cleared. Like, I just remember looking over at the person who was giving her CPR or for, helping her. And I just remember like some drool kind of hanging from her face. That's kind of what I remember. So I think she had like, I know she had her head up like this, like her neck kind of, and she had checked her tongue and she said her tongue was swelling. I mean, she was under the water 15 seconds. I'm not kidding you. So that is how fast this happened. And anyway, so she was able to breathe then. And the first thing she said, like, well, it took her like a couple minutes. I'm still on the phone. It took a couple minutes. And she opened her eyes and she said, who are you? She said to my neighbor. So in the meantime, I'm like on the phone, grabbing a towel off my chair. We usually put little clips on our chair. Broke one of those because I just whipped my towel off because I wanted to put it over her and then get another towel and put it under her head, so we're all like trying to manage these things. Oh my God, it was crazy. And it's weird because like, okay, so then she didn't want to go to the hospital. So once she got up, the EMTs got there. They put her on a stretcher. They did all her, checked everything. Okay. Blood pressure, whatever they were doing. And now, there's neighbors kind of coming out. I actually, as soon as I knew she was good and I had hung up the phone, I texted our president of the board just so she knew because I figured, it's just, I'm used to being an RA. I used to be an RA and hall director a long time ago. So it was like, okay, well, who else needs to know about this, So she came down and we were all, just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen. The woman did not want to go to the hospital. She felt fine, she said. They did tell her, in the next 48 hours, if you've sucked in any water, you could get pneumonia, or so just be careful, Of course, we're all like, go to the hospital, but she didn't want to go. And the EMT's like, well, I can't kidnap her. He literally said that. Because her friend, I was just sitting back watching, but her friend was like, you really should go to the hospital. So after, I don't know, it was probably like 30 minutes. Okay. So this person's like not breathing. I'm not going to say she was dead, but she wasn't breathing. And then between then and when the ambulance probably left to play like 45 minutes. Okay. But then I walked over to the table. So like we were sitting there for a little while, my husband and I, and we're like, yeah, the days just doesn't feel like just hanging out at the pool anymore, And so we were leaving and I walked over to the table because she was like, she was yelling out to each of us as we left, like, thank you so much, I mean, it was just so bizarre. So I did go over there and I know like, no one had told her yet what was going on. And I know she was being a little resistant. So she was resistant because no one had really told her. I don't know. To be honest, I don't even know what they talked about when they were on the stretcher or what she heard. I'm sure she was in shock, is my guess. All of us were. Everybody was, but anyways, I walked over to the table and I was talking to her because they were just kind of sitting around as if nothing happened. This is the weirdest thing, the weirdest experience ever. And I mean, there was a part of me that actually didn't want to stay at the pool because she was still there. Like I thought, you know what, if this woman actually just had a stroke or she had a heart attack and she doesn't even and now I don't want to be around if it happens again. That was like my first thought, like only because she didn't want to go to the hospital. I'm just like, she didn't want anybody to drive her there. She did, and I don't think it's financial. Like, I don't think that part is on the table. Like, I understand maybe some people don't want to take the ambulance. Like, I totally get that if they don't have insurance or something like that. But she didn't want anybody to drive her either. In fact, her friend, who's my neighbor, we ran into each other today. And actually, I was going down to the pool again. And she came driving around and like stopped her car, didn't pull in a space, just stopped her car, turned her car off, got out of the car and came over to me and gave me a big hug, because she's, you have a little bit of like, whoa, So, and she said that they wanted to, the woman said, well, I'm going to drive myself home. And they're like, no, you're not. And she said she got a little belligerent with her. Now, she did say that she was kind of stubborn anyways. Like she's a pretty stubborn person, like, real just takes care of herself type of person, which is fine. But, they were like, no, I mean, they put their foot down basically. They had to, because it's one thing if she wanted to harm herself, like if something happened, but it's another thing if, she's in a vehicle and other people get hurt. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? So they were telling her that, like, no, you're not driving home. So it's good news is she does have a daughter and a son in town. Her husband is completely immobile at this point. He's got ALS or something, and he's kind of at the last stages. So I don't know if that was part of her consideration. But anyways, when I went over to her, I just wanted to reinforce to her, like, I wanted, because I wasn't sure how much she heard the EMT say, if you get something in your lungs, you could get pneumonia, or you guys might have other ideas of what could happen. But, so I just wanted to, just encourage her to make sure that if anything feels weird, that she goes to the or to urgent care or something, not to think, oh, well, I just, because it would be weird for her to, now pass away just because she didn't bother going to the doctors. So, but I would, at that point we were talking about it, and I was like, yeah, well, you turned blue, you weren't breathing. And she didn't even know that. Like, she did not know it. Okay. So she said from the time that she started just kind of swimming around, which again was like, and then her hat fell off. Like, I remember her hat falling off and then her just kind of going into the water like that. And her legs were still hanging onto the noodle. That she remembers her hat falling off, and then she doesn't remember anything else until she was laying on the side of the pool. So the only thing I can guess, or we kind of guessing, is, well, not a medical person. And so who knows what happened, but she obviously fainted, like something caught, because she didn't remember. It's not like she was trying to swim and struggled to swim and struggled to get breath. It wasn't that at all. It was like, boom, she was just under the water, So, so the only thing, she either fainted, or, I mean, if she had a stroke, or, I don't know. I don't know. You guys might know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows at this point. Because she still hasn't gone. Like, my neighbor went over to see her today. She still hasn't gone to the doctor. So anyways, that I just wanted to share with you guys what I've been doing on my vacation. Saving lives, it's what we're doing, saving lives. But it did make me realize that, one, I think that's the thing with like post-traumatic stress, is something that it's like something happened so fast. Like, how, like, it was hard to get my head wrapped around that last night. Like, we were fine going into the afternoon. It was weird. We just went home and, like, well, we were getting our toilets replaced. So just came home and doing normal stuff. But then when I took a bath and I was getting ready for bed, I started reliving it. Like, I started rethinking through it. And then I had to, like, get out of the bathtub and, like, talk to my husband about it. Like, is this what happened? Like, what was the, what did it all look like? What went down, And so I think my neighbor friend, because it was her friend, she even said, like, I can't even believe that she's like, I can't even believe all you guys were there, because she doesn't feel like she would be able to have saved her, because she just doesn't know, like, what she would have done, So anyways, the really coolest part of the story, this is the part I actually wanted to share. I mean, besides, you had to hear the whole story. I mean, you just have to. But what's really interesting is this 30-year-old who took off from work, okay, which she hardly ever does. I mean, she just was like, I don't feel like going in today. I'm taking the day off. So she was hanging out reading in the pool. And she had been watching all morning CPR, episodes of the CPR. I'm like, that is the weirdest. Okay, so that's not weird, right? I mean, and I literally said to the woman, I'm not going to say her name. I literally said to the woman, it really was not your day. Like, the universe did not want you going today, because again, the person who gave her CPR, who had been, I mean, she'd been a lifeguard, but that was like 10 years ago. Okay. And she'd never had to use her CPR, but she was a lifeguard. So she probably was trained very, very well on that. And it was nice because she did take control, like, right away, which was amazing. Now, she's a biologist too. So she does, she actually puts together vaccines and stuff as a job. But yeah, she was watching all morning. She's like, what's weird is all morning I was watching, and she told me what show she was watching. And now I can't remember. It was like Bondi something. Bondi Rescue, I think she told me. I had to write her a text. I was like, what show were you watching? Because, I think she called it Bondi Rescue. I have no idea. I haven't looked it up. So, but she said it was like they were giving CPR all day, every episode. She was like doing like a whole stream of episodes. I'm like, okay, So, moral of the story, watch CPR videos on YouTube every once in a while. I mean, seriously, like, I'm glad now that, like, I don't know, I just feel like that should be something at least once a year that all citizens watch at some point because you never know. You just never know, right? So, anyways, thanks for listening. I'll see you later. I'm coming back soon on Sunday. Okay. And thanks for watching our fan favorite video. Fan FAN favorite videos, you guys. So we're figuring out how to do it. So I know we've been splicing the videos, the previous videos, splicing them, but I think we're going to do it a little different now. We figured out how we might do it so you can see the whole episode again. But thanks for watching them. Really appreciate your support, and I will see you on Sunday. Okay, bye-bye.